Hello and welcome to this News Today special on India Today, coming to you from the city of Lahore. That's right, we are in Lahore, Pakistan, on a unique India-Pakistan Jugalbandi at a landmark moment. Tomorrow, Pakistan will inaugurate the 5-kilometer long visa-free corridor connecting the Gurdwaras of Dera Nanak in India with Kartarpur here in Pakistan. Does this mark a new beginning for India-Pakistan relations, the turbulent history between the two countries, particularly as it comes just after the 10th anniversary of the 26/11 terror attacks? Or is this another false dawn? That's the question we'll raise here in Lahore, Pakistan on this unique India-Pakistan Jugalbandi in collaboration with my colleague here from Geo News, Muneeb Farooq.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sadasai. Once again, I welcome all the distinguished guests all the way from India. They've come here. I hope you keep coming to Pakistan to actually enjoy the level of hospitality that we always have to offer. Let me start this special program by introducing our distinguished guests. Sitting on my right, of course, Mr. Rajdeep Sardesai needs no introduction. Sitting right next to him is Mr. Raj Chingappa. He's the Group Editorial Director, Publishing India Today Group. Thank you very much, Raj sir, for coming here. And then sitting next to him is Ms. Mehmal Sarfraz. She's a senior analyst, journalist, reports also. Thank you very much, Mehmal, for joining us. On my left, it's Mr. Senator Waleed Iqbal. He's from Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf, the party who's ruling Pakistan at the moment. And of course, none other than Azma Bukhari. She is a PMLN activist, worker, very proactive worker, and she's the member of Punjab Assembly. Thank you very much, Azma, for joining us.
You know, Muneeb, before you go ahead, you said, please keep coming to Pakistan.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say the same question that Pakistani journalists asked me. Give us visas. Give us visas. Open the borders. You're opening the borders today for religious pilgrims, hopefully. I mean, eventually it will be opened once the corridor is built. But open it up for people-to-people contact.
Yeah.
You know, I think watching this program, there are going to be lots of people out there in India who are going to say, what is Rajdeep Sardesai doing in Pakistan? And the only reason I'm here is finally I've got a visa.
Yeah.
You know, we're journalists who've come after years here because we don't normally get visas. So you've got to get us visas. I'm going to ask that to the Tehreek-e-Insaf leader.
Senator Waleed Iqbal.
Well, Waleed Iqbal Saab, tell us. You know, you've got a new government, Imran Khan. No Pakistan leader has perhaps come to India as often as Imran. Why doesn't Imran Khan, like we've done with Kartarpur, open it up? Do you see tomorrow as a new beginning for India-Pakistan relations, or is this another false dawn?
No, I am very cautiously optimistic, and before I say that, also I welcome you to Pakistan, both of you gentlemen, and I hope your stay here is pleasant, and it enables you and it enables all of us to feel that this is not a false dawn, but a new beginning. 7 kilometers between Dera Baba Nanak and Darbar Sahib Kartarpur. 7 short kilometers, but 70 long years. That's how people have been putting it here. And I think above all what it shows is the commitment that this government has, the present government, to peace between the neighbors, and not just peace between the neighbors, but peace in the region. And just to address what you started with, that please open it all up. Yes, we are opening it up. As far as the visas, the process involving visas goes, I think that is also a reciprocal process which has to work both ways. So both sides have to put the guard down a bit and relax a bit. And I think what is the real test, because I think a lot of, I have come across this discussion at a lot of places in the last few days, that you know, the Indian election is sort of looming, and a lot of grandstanding takes place ahead of that election. So what one hopes really is that this is not just a short-lived romancing or sort of wooing the Punjabi voters. There is more to it than just a domestic agenda.
There is more to it. There is more to it. But I want to ask you, for example, today your Prime Minister or your government has said that we would welcome Narendra Modi for the SAARC summit. Now, are you serious about it, or is this also grandstanding? Just as you say, the Indians are, you know, look, there is a domestic constituency on both sides. I mean, is Imran Khan the kind of leader who can overcome domestic opposition in Pakistan? Among those who will say, why do we need better relations with India? Just as there are those who will say, why should we be opening the Kartarpur Sahib just 2 days after the commemoration of 10 years of the 26/11 attack? That's how Indians will see it.
No, I will go back to a point in time, a very recent point in time when the grandstanding in Pakistan was over because the election was behind us, and Prime Minister Imran Khan was still not Prime Minister, but he made his maiden speech after becoming leading the largest party in the National Assembly. And addressing India and Indian leadership, what he said was, you take one step, I will take four, or we will take four. And thereafter, approximately a month later, it was being anticipated that on the sidelines of the United Nations session, the foreign ministers would meet, but suddenly, all of a sudden, the Indian Prime Minister or Indian government had other ideas. And now, after this, yet another couple of months later, talking about anniversaries, I think rather than focus on 26/11, let's look at the beginning of the 550th anniversary of Guru Nanak.
Interesting.
That's more important. I think I would like to ask Mr. Singappa. I mean,
And hence the timing.
yeah, of course. But one of the questions that we raise here is that relationships with India and between India and Pakistan, it's never an issue in Pakistan elections, but it becomes an election issue in India. Why is it that relations with Pakistan is hostage to domestic politics in India?
Well, I don't think it's just domestic politics. In this particular case, we're also, in some senses, dancing to an international pressure, both the countries. And if you've seen what recently the US has done in terms of denying Pakistan aid based on certain conditions of bringing down terror, as well as putting a bounty on the 26/11 perpetrators to get them, you can see that there's pressure building. And so some of the moves you can interpret as playing to an international audience, because there is pressure building from US and other countries to say these two countries cannot be at loggerheads with each other. So there's a game of one-upmanship in some senses on that front. That's one. The second thing I think is that, yes, there is a lot of election pressure, but what is happening today has surprised all of us. Let's be also quite frank. I mean, a month ago,
surprised, are you?
yes, very. A month ago, you wouldn't have thought so. After the UN talks and everything had broken down, there was really, really bad rhetoric. If you see what the Indian Ministry of External Affairs said about Pakistan, evil designs, and then what the Pakistan Prime Minister then said about small men in large offices. Okay, so I think what you're seeing is a corridor of opportunity. It's a narrow corridor. Let's be very clear. It's a thin, narrow corridor, 7 kilometers long. We need to build on it. It's a good beginning. It's a positive step. And I'm glad that India has also responded in the sense that you're sending 2 ministers. It sends a signal. And let's not say, well, the foreign minister didn't come because she was invited, or the chief minister of Punjab didn't come. They had various compulsions that's there. But both Mr. Hardeep Puri and Harsimrat Kaur Badal are very eminent cabinet ministers. And don't forget, Hardeep Singh Puri was a diplomat before he came there. So there is not just a matter of a religious sentiment in all these things, but also you could use this opportunity to start understanding each other better. I think that's the key. There's still so much lack of trust with us. We don't understand each other. We hop back to our old issues, which we need to sort out. I'm not saying terror is a small issue.
And put all those issues behind us. I mean,
not behind. Let's deal with it. Never to put it behind. Let's talk and see where we can understand each other on each of those fronts.
But for that, we need to talk. I mean,
of course.
We need to talk, but the question is, the Indian position is, can terror and talks go together? That's the stated Indian position, Mehmal Sarfraz. Because, let's be very honest. Just a few days ago, a Sikh shrine in Amritsar was attacked, 3 people died. Now you're opening up the Kartarpur corridor. It takes statesmanship to do what you're doing, but there are contradictory signals. On the 26th, there is a general sense of anger and anguish in India that innocent citizens were killed by terrorists who came across the border and they haven't been prosecuted. So, we can talk, but can talks take place when there is this specter of terror is a question that will be raised again and again. Talk about what is the question that's raised. What do you talk about if there is the looming threat of terror and violence?
Look, Raj, the thing is that geographically we cannot change our geography, right? India is our neighbor, Afghanistan is our neighbor, Iran is our neighbor, China is our neighbor. You cannot change your neighbors either, even if you want to. So yes, there is a terror threat. Yes, there have been incidents of terror in the past. And I'm not saying that, just move forward without addressing that issue. Yes, you raise it at every level. You raise it at every form of, every forum. But if you are not talking to each other, where will you raise it? Except for international fora, that's it. So there has to be you have to talk to the government of Pakistan. You have to talk to the military of Pakistan. There has to be a people-to-people contact. Just like you, when you began this show, you said that the journalists should not have visas. And to be honest, I'll tell you this much, that this government actually proposed this. And this government came to power, there was this back channel, and they proposed that journalists should not have visas, or at least get visas very easily. Then they also proposed that the two correspondent thing between India and Pakistan should be reinitiated. Then they wanted Indian papers to come to Pakistan and Pakistani papers to go to India. Indian channels in Pakistan, Pakistani channel, news channel legally in India. So this is something, look, you cannot move forward without talking to Pakistan.
You cannot
both
move.
the countries.
No,
And a
I'll
lot
take
of
your point.
people are suffering.
No, I take your point, but talk to whom? Azmaji, the people in India will ask, should we be talking to Imran Khan? Is Imran Khan really the person in charge in Pakistan, or is it General Bajwa? Who should we be talking to? Do we talk to Mr. Imran Khan without being clear whether Mr. Imran Khan has the power to deliver on his promises? All these promises, can he really deliver?
Thank you very much. It's a $1 million question, I must say.
नहीं उसका आंसर दे दिए मैं आपको $1 million दे दूंगा आपको उसका जवाब देना है can Imran Khan deliver
But don't answer as an opposition member.
Politically, I have so many reservations about his politics, his style of politics, his style of U-turn on each and every policy. But being a patriotic Pakistani, I must say, and I should have the confidence in my Prime Minister, that I can say same as in your country. Whenever you are talking against the India-Pakistan relations or the terrorism or somewhat, there are many stakeholders who are involved in that policy. So in your country, of course, you have to take.
No, Narendra Modi is in charge in India. Is Imran Khan in charge in Pakistan? That's my point. Or is the army the elephant in the room? Is the army the elephant in the room?
Can I answer this?
The Kartarpur event, to my sense, it's a result of Jadoo Ki Jappi. With
Jadoo Ki Jappi?
Yes, with Navjot Sidhu.
The magical hug that we all
And
witnessed.
after that, we heard the name of Kartarpur from the politicians of the ruling party. But
You are giving
in the
Navjot
past-
Singh Sidhu the credit for Kartarpur. You're saying the
Jadoo Ki Jappi.
you're saying the
between
Jadoo
the
Ki
two.
Jappi between
Yes.
Sidhu and General
Yes.
Bajwa is what what
Because
pushed
after-
forward Kartarpur.
Before that, in the past, we have heard this Kartarpur issue from the People's Party regime, from PMLN regime, but not even once from the PTI, their correspondents or their the people. So after that Jadoo Ki Jappi, they know the Kartarpur border exists, and they have to take the credit after that.
But
But my fears are that our Prime Minister he thinks that it's the credit of a leader to take a U-turn. So I hope he'll not take a U-turn on this Kartarpur border again.
Can I say something, Rajiv?
Yes.
Sorry, I just wanted to say that Imran Khan and this is the government has said this as well, that the establishment and the government are on the same page, unlike the previous government.
They're on the same page.
They are on the same page. So yes, if Imran Khan is in charge because he has the backing of the establishment, so it's fine.
But if you put the facts
But the
straight,
question is,
where
who
does
initiated that?
exactly where does it come
Who is
from?
the
It was
initiated
just
that?
an informal
Yes.
conversation between two guests at an oath-taking ceremony. You are absolutely correct that all institutions in the country are on the same page, and the foreign minister of Pakistan in his first press conference had articulated that the foreign policy of this country will be made here. He was standing in the foreign office, and yes, just like he was giving the example of the United States of America, that the Pentagon has its input and the CIA has its input, so all concerned authorities or institutions of the state would have their input, but it would be the civilian government headed by the Prime Minister which would be calling the shots, and it was a cabinet decision which led to this.
Raj, you've been tracking Pakistan for years. Are you willing to accept that Imran Khan, less than 100 days, he completes 100 days tomorrow in office, is actually fully in charge in Pakistan, that we should be talking to Imran Khan?
Well, I don't know about being fully in charge, because there's a whole lot of issues that Pakistan has to deal with, whether it's economics, whether it's on the social front. He has inherited quite a fractured polity, and he needs to deal with a lot of domestic issues. But if you look at the way, and Senator pointed out, from the beginning that he's taken charge, he has devoted time to talking about India and improving relations with India. Clearly, he couldn't have said that without the backing of the army. They're all in, if you would like to use the word same page, fine, that's there. And let's also not forget, I don't think we should be too worried about dealing with a prime minister who has a good link with the army, because it'll help us better in terms of relations. We have seen that when the army was in charge, as a matter of fact, I mean, without putting a case for dictatorship or any sort of draconian government, when General Musharraf was there, you had maximum progress in terms of the ceasefire agreement. You had a back channel agreement that was going on. So I think it is good that the army is on board. I think India should leverage that fact. We, of course, as you said earlier, Rajdeep, and unfortunately this has been one of the cases that every time there's an initiative, there is an attack of some sort on this, which makes it impossible for the Indian government to move forward. So if you've got a UN General Secretary, a meeting at the sides of the UN General Assembly, you have a series of attacks, which makes it embarrassing for the government to say, look, we don't think you've turned a page. Have you turned? So I think the demonstration of turning that page has to be significant. If you have to make significant gains, sustained dialogue. That's what we're looking for.
Munib,
not
that's what I wanted to
episodical
ask
stuff.
you, because you're here. Do you ask those questions of your establishment, particularly, let's say, in the context of Hafiz Saeed? Look at how we perceive Hafiz Saeed. We perceive Hafiz Saeed as the main person responsible for 2611. And we perceive the Pakistan establishment as not having done enough to prosecute a Hafiz Saeed or a Zakir Rahman Lakhvi. And when 167 Indian citizens die, including, of course, some foreigners as well, then we ask ourselves, is Pakistan doing enough? So while you say, let's forget the past, how do I forget the past? You and I may be able to at least sort of reconcile with it. How do you deal with those who've lost their loved ones? How do you deal with the general sense of anger and anguish?
But Rajdeep, I mean, it's not your word against mine or the government's word against ours. It's about the fact that Pakistan, the world knows that Pakistan has been a terror-struck country.
Yes.
We have sacrificed more than anybody else has in terms of lives, anything.
Can that be an excuse? Can that be an excuse? Can that be an excuse for not prosecuting?
I mean, there have been non-state actors going across the border, doing stuff. We have not been backing them up. The state has not been backing them up. But if you allow me to say, you've got a serving raw officer caught in Balochistan. He wasn't hatching eggs there. He was trying.
Well, what is a non-state actor, Munib? Explain to me this term non-state actor. Someone who has terror camps in Pakistan can't be called a non-state actor.
But the fact
they get supported by the ISI and the army.
The Pakistan government and the Pakistan military establishment did not support Hafiz Saeed in the recent times at all. The Jihad Staff was closed down. The fact remains that he was banned by the government, the previous government of Mian Muhammad Nawaz Sharif, and it was the Supreme Court that he took his case to, that he wanted to resume his charity work. There is a law in Pakistan.
We've sent voice samples, we've sent communiques, details of their involvement. My point is, do you believe that Pakistan has actually done enough to prosecute those responsible for 2611? Do you really believe that? How can you call them non-state actors if they are getting involved?
But the fact that's what I'm telling you. Is there enough evidence that those non-state actors were backed by the state of Pakistan? The fact remains there
is. Of the ISI, there is. I just wonder, therefore.
But my question is, when we talk about Kulbhushan Yadav, what he was doing in Balochistan, and I'm not going too far in the history. 2 days before, we got an attack on Chinese embassy, in Karachi. And
the BLA guys,
yes, BLA, they have admitted their responsibility, and everybody know, and they are the main character is hospitalized in Delhi hospital. So what should I conceive that your government has sent those people, to the terror attacks in Pakistan? No, I should not do that. If we want to proceed further towards the peace, towards the prosperity, we have to understand there are some elements who doesn't want peace.
Who are these elements? Who are these elements? Let's be very clear. Hafiz Saeed contested the elections. Who are these elements? Who are these elements?
There are elements. You must be knowing your elements in your country, and we should be knowing, those elements.
People are crossing the LOC daily in Kashmir to create havoc in the state.
No. We are putting them behind the bars. We are, doing all the legal formalities which you can have done.
Is there a difference between those? Just correct me. Is there a difference between those who perpetrate violence in Pakistan against innocent Pakistanis and those who perpetrate violence from Pakistan on innocent Indians.
Rajdeep,
Do you see a difference?
Rajdeep
matter of fact,
Kulbhushan was a serving officer. Why are you not talking about that? He was a serving officer.
Now
What
that's
should
your
I
po-
think? What should I think?
I'm not-
I have sacrificed 70,000 people here in Pakistan who are, you know, being assassinated each and every day
By
in
jihadi
explosions
forces
and everything.
created in this country.
Please give me the answer
Not
about
exported
the
from
motion.
India.
I'm not responsible, you know, I'm not responsible for Hafiz Saeed, you know, because I'm not sending him, or I'm not responsible for his activities. But the government of India should be responsible for Kulbhushan Yadav.
Respond, Raj, because you'll hear these arguments familiar. Pakistanis will say Baluchistan. They'll put up Kulbhushan Yadav. I will raise Hafiz Saeed. I will
Yes.
raise 2611. I will raise the daily attacks that take place in Kashmir. And we will perhaps not find a way to start the dialogue then.
Let's get to the core of the issue.
Because if
okay?
we keep
Why
talking
are we
about
using-
these issues, then we won't be having any time to have dialogues.
Sure, no. I think what we're getting to is the core, which is terror doesn't benefit either Pakistan or
Yes.
India.
Neither
or
does
any
Agreed.
country.
Yeah, agreed.
Agreed.
Second point is, what does terror do? It dissuades other people from investing in India
Yeah.
and in Pakistan.
Yeah.
What do we need most? GDP growth?
Yeah.
I would say 10 to 12% GDP growth. Pakistan needs us that much. India, though it has been one of the
Yeah.
fastest growing economies, still falls far short. We have huge numbers of people in poverty. To attain 10 to 12% growth, that should be our intention.
Yeah.
And in doing so, you have to cool down these various elements that are there. Let's not forget, we have a long-standing border dispute with China.
Yeah.
We have not fired a bullet with each other. We might have been eyeball to eyeball. Yet, we have sorted it out and said, we will keep that aside for the moment. And today, China is India's largest trading partner. I do not see why Pakistan, we have a lot of commonalities.
Yeah.
I talk to your businessmen. They are as interested in doing business as Indian businessmen are doing. We have a geography that is common. We might have a history that is a bit
Yeah.
fractured. But certainly in terms of geography, in terms of benefits that are there, we can use a market, a regional market, and that's
We
why
should.
SAARC and
We
others are
should,
very,
yeah.
very important. But we're not doing that. So I think first we must get this very straight. We have great issues about Kashmir. You have great issues about Kashmir. We have great issues about terror. We need to sort that out, but not in the manner we're doing. We're both going at each other's throats.
Yeah.
That should be
That-
happening.
Precisely, that's what I'm trying to say. At least we sit and talk. I mean, as you've pointed out, the Indian position is that terror and talk, they can't go hand in hand. But the fact remains that when you only decide when you sit. You're not
Yes,
sitting,
you
you're
have to
not
sit,
talking.
When you are boycotting SAARC summit, what talks,
It's not
will
just
be
us.
going?
Afghanistan also chose to boycott. Bangladesh chose to boycott. In a sense.
It can be a conspiracy.
It
can be a conspiracy.
There's a
Yeah.
sense.
It can be a conspiracy, if I can say
On
that.
that. I mean,
My worry is, of course, that look at the contradictory signals even on Kartarpur. Yesterday, the Punjab Chief Minister, Punjab Chief Minister, Captain Amrinder Singh, says very clearly, tough message to Pakistan, saying stop terror in Punjab if you expect us to reach out to you. This is Captain Amrinder Singh.
Yeah.
Navjot Singh Sidhu, minister in his government, is as we speak here in Pakistan being felicitated
Yeah.
as a messenger of peace. Now, these are two conflicting, contradictory images that I am getting. I am trying to make sense
but
of that.
Rajdeep, can you point out, I mean,
Yes.
you may be educating me on that, can you point out any contradictory signal coming from
Yes,
Pakistan on this
Pakistan.
particular issue?
Yes.
On Kartarpur?
Yeah, on Qatar.
On Kartarpur, I think we are
Overall
all
on India and
No, I think on Kartarpur we are in agreement that this is a major step forward. Look, this has been a demand. It's ridiculous if I'm a Sikh on the Indian side. I can see Kartarpur Sahib through binoculars, but I can't go there and do my matha tek. I think it's wonderful gesture.
But if you look at what the Punjab Chief Minister,
Yes.
Amrinder Singh, Punjab,
yes, Punjab, yes.
since we are in Punjab and in Pakistan as well.
You'll get into trouble because Navjot Singh Sidhu said the two Punjabs have much more in common than they have with than a Punjabi would have with an Indian in South India like you, which is partly true.
Well, I
Go
was
ahead.
born in Ferozpur, so
Okay, go ahead.
I'm still Putter of Punjab.
Yes.
But if you look at what Captain Amrinder Singh said, and there's been a recent attack in Punjab, which has caused great concern. The Indian Army chief spoke about a revival of militantism in Punjab. Now, and also talked of it happening across the border, which is Pakistan.
That's right. He tried to refer to the fact that there were Khalistani elements actively being encouraged in Pakistan.
And one of the suspicions about this whole Kartarpur business is that, we are now, you know, reviving those links. There are a lot of these extremists seated over here. People that have that referendum that is coming up in UK are getting easy visas and being welcomed out here. So therefore, there is more to it than meets the eye on this. So there is a groundswell of lack of trust in this matter. So it's not as simple as saying, yeah, I think it's a great initiative. I think, as I said earlier, it's a corridor of opportunity. But there's a lot more to be done among each other. Now why is 2611 such a defining point? And let's not forget the Indian government did inaugurate the groundbreaking ceremony at the same, on 26th. So there was sort of, and the Prime Minister talk of a Berlin Wall, in some senses coming down. But why does 2611 resonate so much? It is because that was a turning point in the Indian public's mind when 165 people were killed in this terror attack that was there. A group of small band of terrorists do what they've done, clearly waging war on the state. There is enough information, if the US is saying so, we are saying so, enough information to show that it came from across the border. You had a former Prime Minister, Mian Nawaz Sharif Saab said that, we believe the perpetrators came from Pakistan. I think people are, quite concerned that if Pakistan does not take that seriously and say, look, we are as concerned about what has happened there, we will get those people to book, then I think you will see an attitude change happening in the Indian public. Today, we are all sort of, because of this, I think that was a turning point. Before, there was a lot of sympathy and people wanted a great deal of dialogue. But after that, they say, if you keep coming every time, look at Prime Minister Modi. He comes across, shakes hands with Mian Sahab in Lahore. Immediately after that, you have a Pathankot or you have trouble out there. What is the message?
So I think the challenge, the word that was used, and we can take a break on that, is the word which was trust. How do you build trust? Between two countries, you can't change your neighbors. The question is, how do you then build trust?
And you can talk for hours for things that have happened in the past.
Absolutely, and let's be honest, there is no country quite like Pakistan when it comes to India in terms of our similarities. How do we build on those and build and rebuild this trust deficit that exists at the moment? We are anchoring this special show, my friend Munib and myself, here in Lahore. That's right, we are in Lahore, trying to find out ways, can it be possible for India and Pakistan to build bridges? On a day or a day before, the Pakistani side inaugurates its section of the planned Kartarpur corridor.
Yeah.
Tell me now, trust. How do you build trust?
As I've said, Raj sir may not agree with me, but I say that's what I believe in. If you only talk about the things that have happened in the past, if you leave yourself hostage to the history of both the countries, you won't be able to make any progress, Rajdeep.
That's a good point, because there is a younger generation which doesn't carry the romanticism or the baggage of partition. There's a new India that's presumably a new Pakistan. What are you going to do to address their concerns? I thought Mr. Chengappa made a very important point about trade. What are you going to do to pick up trade? Why should I have to come all the way to Lahore to get my jutis every time? You can just send them over across the border. Why? What is it that you think prevents, the two countries from talking about these issues?
I think you are right, the element of trust, and it has just been said by Munib over here as well, that if we just dwell too much on the past and we let the past take us hostage, then we are unlikely to make progress. We need to be forward looking, number one. And number two, it has invariably been the case that, whenever we come to we attempt to come to the table to have dialogue, there are preconditions of sorts set onto the...
No, when you say forget the past, are you telling Indians forget 2611? Forget all the train bomb attacks, forget what's been happening in Kashmir? Are you saying forget all that?
No, the thing is that
how do we do that? It's a living reality.
There are, as has been pointed out, there have been incidents here also. There have been accusations from our side about interference in our or destabilizing Pakistan.
You're seriously comparing the two situations?
Also about, the unfinished business of partition involving Kashmir and things like that. So more like what we called in the past a composite dialogue. We need to have all issues addressed together rather than, put preconditions or to put one before the other.
You're saying go back to the composite dialogue.
Go back.
And don't put anything on top.
Yeah,
it's not about, are you going to make Kashmir a precondition? Are we going to make terror? Is it possible to have this kind of composite dialogue? Are we romanticizing?
All these matters, including Kashmir, including terrorism, including trade, everything in one composite dialogue. Yes, that could possibly provide that kind of an opening where we could progress rather than, keep going one step forward and 3 steps back.
Is it really?
And Pakistan.
I just think actually, you see, I think the media can play a very good role in this, a very positive role. Right now, you're doing a show sitting in Lahore with a local Pakistani news channel, right?
And mainly talking about the history.
Yes, and we are having an open debate. We see a lot of jingoism, especially on the Indian media. I'll be very honest because I monitor both Indian and Pakistani media. And yes, there are some anchors and
You're saying Pakistani anchors are less hyper-nationalist
Yes,
compared
yes,
to
I mean,
Indian
that's
anchors?
evident.
Yes.
That's evident.
And you know
I mean,
me, I am not somebody. In Pakistan. I'm labelled as pro-India or an
you
Indian
won't
agent.
find
But
won't 5 prime time shows over here turning their guns blazing
Yeah.
at India. Oh, we're
There
going to
won't
crush
be
India.
these-
We're going to do that. You are so
There won't be
unpatriotic.
studios
You're
won't be
going to
turned
India.
into,
You've been given Indian visa. I mean, that's not what
something
happens
of the
in
sort.
Pakistan.
So my thing is that why should Pakistan? I actually believe that Pakistani and Indian media should play a positive role. Instead of all this jingoistic debate which gets ratings, it's all about TRP.
No, I agree that the jingoistic debates
But we
have
should
to
have
end.
an honest-
But I also believe that it's important for closure to see
Yes.
visible action on the ground. I think we have to separate the two. Jingoism, hyper-nationalism, accusing every Pakistani of being a terrorist is terrible. I think it is disgraceful at times if we paint every Pakistani as some kind of a AK-47 wielding terrorist. But to get closure, you're going to need visible action, ma'am. You're going to need visible action. It was your government earlier, it's now the PTI, and I just wonder whether there is enough, does your state carry enough credibility to take that action?
No, I don't think that it's a lack of credibility on the part of the government of Pakistan anywhere or even in the history. We have taken, I have told earlier, we have taken many steps, and Pakistan is a frontline, victim of that, terrorism attacks. We were suffering, a lot for last 10 years or so. But from last 5 years of my government, when we were in the regime, we talk, we used to talk on the terrorism, and of course, but the issue is you have to sit somewhere to talk. But when you are boycotting, different summits, when you are, we are saying that let's talk on Kashmir. Why not? Why not talk on Kashmir? If we are Kashmir,
What should the
and
talks on
terrorism-
Kashmir be about?
Kashmir and terrorism, they are interrelated. I must say they are interrelated. If the terrorism in Kashmir, we can prevent that. The terrorism and I think the reaction of some.
But ma'am,
some
these terrorist
people-
groups in Kashmir have their head offices in Islamabad and Rawalpindi.
No,
That's
no.
That's not
no,
true.
the terroristic
That's not-
groups-
that's not-
in
What-
Pakistan-
what-
that's
what
not
your
true. I mean,
police
Azad
and-
Kashmir, I've
what
been
your
to them.
police and
I've been
army
to
is
the
doing.
Lashkar
What
offices.
your
If
police
we-
and army is doing
You may
in
have gone there in the
Kashmir.
past, but as I've
My
told
God.
you, the Jihad tab is
Don't
told.
say
But I
that.
think to be very honest, we've had histories. I mean, you mourn over 26/11. We have had
We had Samjhota Express, yes.
we had the Samjhota Express
Yeah.
thing. We suffered. It's a different country. The APS attack in Peshawar. It was planned. The people were nurtured. School in Afghanistan. We didn't go and wage a war against Afghanistan. We would sit and talk. There are still people planning attacks in Pakistan, planning in Afghanistan, crossing over the border, attacking people in Pakistan. But you
So
don't.
what would you like to talk on Kashmir? I'm trying to understand the trust deficit. What would you like to talk on Kashmir?
Something that Muneeb, because Muneeb is a lawyer and he can explain it better. I'm just going to put something in there that Muneeb can carry on. Our laws, when it comes to actually punishing terrorists, they're quite weak. And this is about local terrorists as well. You saw that after the APS attack, they had to form the military courts just because, the trials weren't going fast enough or people weren't getting punished. And even now with the whole Khadim Rizvi and Labbaik thing, they had to actually pick them up. After
detain
the-
them.
Yeah, and
But
detain
I
them.
still want to understand
this
the
is
younger
a big
Pakistan. Because
problematic.
the-
No, Rajdeep,
yes,
one of
the
course,
generation beyond partition. Just a minute. Yes.
the judiciary, of course, even in India is famous for the kind of delays that is there. And we have a ruling government now complaining about Ayodhya, saying, look, how long did the Supreme Court take to decide things? But I think you need to demonstrate a lot of sincerity. Let's be also, look, whenever we come to, I agree with you that we should not brand every Pakistani as an enemy of this thing. I've come here, the last time I came here in 2013, and I used to be a frequent visitor. We do need to come more frequently. But it was always very warm and welcoming. The people here want to listen to your side, want to understand you, call you home for food. It's terrific. I think what are we looking at in this? People to people, there's a lot of affection between the two. Yeah. Culturally, we're similar, we enjoy the same music. There's so much that we can enjoy of each other. We love the singers that come across. I think what are we looking at when we say concrete measures? One, cut down the rhetoric. I think Mehmal is right, that not just the media, it's the politicians that also create the rhetoric, okay? So
no, we raise the T word, they raise the K word, and it becomes a zero sum.
Well, that's one. We have no issue. So firstly, I think cut down the rhetoric. Second, we have a live border, which you need to observe a ceasefire violation out there. I mean, ceasefire agreement. Let's keep that agreement. That was a good agreement in 2003. There's no point in saying we want to have talks and then there's, you know, our Jawans are shooting at each other and killing each other for no rhyme or reason on this front. The third thing I think is I think both sides, we're willing to talk Kashmir. I don't think that's an issue. We should be willing to, they should be willing to talk on terror. Then there's trade. Then if you look at the issues, what is there? There's trade, there's water, there's Siachen, there is, what's the Sir Creek. You know, you've got about 6 or 7 issues that you can address. The big ones, take them head on. We don't mind talking about Kashmir. I don't think we should not be afraid. What is it that we want out of Kashmir? If that's the key thing of that, isn't it? The people should get whatever it is that they deserve to get. If India is doing that, Pakistan shouldn't complain. If India is not doing that, Pakistan of course can say what it has to say. And India should take steps to ensure that Kashmir is taken care of. Now, does that have to be another war between the two countries? Should it lead to that?
No, not at all.
Obviously
Not
not.
at all.
No, but that's what I'm asking you, Munib. This is a younger generation. I'm asking all of you in a way. This is a younger generation, as I said, post-partition, not scarred in a sense by the wounds of partition. Surely they want double-digit growth. I mean, both countries really need to push forward. We are, this subcontinent's biggest burden is poverty. Narendra Modi ji, you can call it rhetoric, said, why don't India and Pakistan fight a war, but fight a war against poverty? I mean, you can call it rhetoric, but the fact is that is the war to be fought. Now, how much are our politicians, and maybe this should be put out, how much are our politicians actually pushing the people to recognize that for a moment, let's put Kashmir on the back burner, let's focus on the issues that really concern us?
I can tell you on a personal level, knowing Prime Minister Imran Khan for many, many years, this weighs on his mind a lot. The fact that, how much both the peoples of both countries can progress, how much their conditions can be ameliorated if there were to be sustainable peace and trust between two sides. He feels very strongly about that. And yes, to that extent, if Prime Minister Narendra Modi has said, let's fight a war against poverty, yes, that's what Prime Minister Imran Khan believes in, and I mean, including myself, a large part of Pakistan's population also.
But on the ground, that doesn't happen. On the ground, you've got, LOC cross-border firing.
I want to ask you, I mean, every time there's an unrest in Kashmir, I mean, there's a lot of restiveness in that area. Why is it branded that it's always sponsored by Pakistan? Don't you consider that there is a local intifada going on there?
No,
look what the world is writing about Kashmir.
We
Why
can
is it
use
always
words like
branded in
intifada
Pakistan?
very loosely in the times.
They are living there.
Let's be honest.
I am terrorism. They are facing terrorism.
Look,
Why
let's
not?
be honest. There are serious issues to be addressed in Kashmir. Let's not run away from that. I'm the last person to say that all is, it's a land of milk and honey. There are serious problems that need to be addressed by the Indian state in Kashmir. There is a measure of alienation that needs to be addressed. No one doubts that, but there is also the gun. Again, it comes to the same thing. How do I talk, for example, how does the Indian state talk to separatists if the separatists are also behind them, behind their shoulder is the gun? The specter of violence of any form, to my mind, reduces the scope for a reasoned, rational dialogue.
But
that's the worry.
We just saw that, that BJP minister or senior leader actually accused Umar Abdullah and Mehbooba Mufti of taking direction from the Pakistani side.
And you know what happened? Omar Abdullah and Mehbooba Mufti called him out, and the people supported Omar Abdullah and Mehbooba Mufti, including myself. Look, in both countries there are extremists and hardliners who will say things that perhaps are designed to only widen the trust deficit.
So how
but there
do
are,
we bridge that?
there are also rational voices.
Sir, aren't we just putting too much precondition that from the Indian side, you say you need to show us that you are sincere about talks, you need to show us that you are sincere about peace, only then we'll sit and talk. Why don't we just sit and talk about the issues that are pending there? talk about terrorism, talk
There
about
is no
Kashmir,
other way
talk about
out
the
to
issues that you've
thrust-
already pointed out. Why aren't we doing that?
That's why I said at the beginning itself that firstly you need to have trust. Even in friendship, you don't have an immediate sort of large deal with someone unless you get to know the person and say, all right, I trust this person, he's going to move step by step. So if there is a terror attack, for instance, and unfortunately we get held hostage by a lot of these attacks, is if the other side reciprocates, as it did happen for a while when Miaz Sharif was there. Interlocutors came down, investigators came down to see what happened in Pathankot, say, look, we want to control these elements as much as you want to do that. And as Rajdeep and as we discussed earlier, if we set our task for a war on poverty, for a growth of 10 to 12%, not because we want 10 to 12% as a number, but because we know we can lift incomes there. There's a middle class, there's a poor class that requires all these measures. We are being held hostage by the hostility between the two. If we put our heads together and we are able to sort out, and I'm saying rational, you don't need terror, we don't need terror. You want something about Kashmir, we are willing to look at it, but not, as Rajdeep was saying, with a gun pointing to our head and saying, you damn well do it.
You know,
I don't think that works.
I was here almost 20 years ago, ironically, February of 1999. I came on Vajpayeeji's Lahore bus yatra to cover that. Again, there was an excitement in the air. There was a buzz in the air. You know, this is going to be the start of a new relationship. 6 months later, we had Kargil. You know, that is where I think, and you know, you had the Agra summit and then you had the attack on parliament. So, you know, it's all in a way, you say don't go back into history, but it's recent history. You know, so it scars people, it scars decision makers, diplomats. They're not willing to take the risks. Even tomorrow.
But
Kartarpur,
give you one thing.
Kartarpur is a huge,
But then-
Kartarpur is a huge step forward. But God forbid, if something were to happen tomorrow,
But
and in
it's
which
not
Khalistan-
only the Indian
But
side
I think
that
the
is
argument-
suffered.
One point I'd just like to quickly make is that Prime Minister Imran Khan, when he came, I greeted it personally because we were both there when we watched the World Cup 1992 where he held
That's
up the
right.
cup and
We were
very proud.
witnesses to Pakistan's best cricketing moment, which was winning that World Cup
It was
92.
the
Go ahead.
subcontinental cup. We
Yes,
looked at it.
yeah.
Right?
We were all backing Pakistan to beat Australia or England in the
And,
final.
and he has a lot of goodwill in India because of his cricketing prowess. I mean, he's a legend as much as he is in Pakistan. We love his cricket. We admire his ferocity when he bowls at us. He has that groundswell that is there. He's got the early months. He can still do as he's done with Kartarpur and other initiatives that is there to move the ball forward, to move that forward. I think India, if you look at Prime Minister Modi also, you know, there might be deep suspicions about him in Pakistan, but the fact is he has always pushed for peace. He is not wanting to have war. If you look, he invites Mia Saab for his swearing-in ceremony. He is willing to take the risk to come down to Lahore to return what he thinks was a huge step that Mia Saab took.
And not easy given the kind of party he leads. You know, in a sense, he's, you know, his party, you mentioned domestic compulsions. You know, I don't think too many people within the ruling BJP were particularly celebrating when Mr. Modi came here on that impromptu visit in December 2015 to meet Mia Saab, or even now with Kartarpur. You know, there's suspicion. And I think given that you've got two leaders who are willing to rise above the rhetoric.
I'd like to ask you a question also. Mehmet. Why is this that there's this suspicion, an increasing suspicion, only on the Indian side? It's not that only India has suffered in the past 20 years. It's Pakistan which has suffered, I think, even more.
I'll
Much
answer this
more than
very
anybody else
honestly.
has. So we don't have those suspicions. Every time we need to talk about,
I'll
talk
answer your
about the
question,
talks or the
but
composite
first
dialogue.
I'd like to actually address a point raised by Rajdeep. He said that Kargil happened right after Vajpayeeji's visit. But then when the architect of Kargil came to power, he realized that India and Pakistan, if they need to move forward, especially Pakistani economy, and you know, he realized when he came to power that this is not the way to go. He realized his mistake, and then he was the one who suggested the 4-point formula for Kashmir, which is, I actually think it's one of the best plans to demilitarize Kashmir. But coming back to your question, there's a difference. 26/11, why was 26/11 different? There have been previous such terror attacks in India as well, but it was televised for 4 days. Look, if I'm a Pakistani and there's an attack and which is being live telecast for 4 days, you know, it'll leave a lasting impression on me. And then if I know that even if non-state actors, Indian non-state actors are behind it, of course I'm
Now,
going
what
to
is
blame
this
India.
word?
So this is something that is
I
changed.
find this word non-state actor
no, I'm just
extremely
saying-
troubling.
I'm saying
you know,
that
it's
the-
almost as if the state, you know, will disown people.
No, I'm just
who
saying
they
that
have
even
over
if,
the-
that's why I said
but don't
even
you-
if, that's why I said even if.
What about
No, but they patronize. These are the forces.
Yes, of course.
You know,
Rajdeep, if non-state actors doesn't exist, then state actors like Kulbhushan, they exist?
no, look, you keep
No,
going
it's
about
not.
Kulbhushan.
We have,
We are going to.
no,
Look, the
we
Indian.
have also many
Nadeem,
events in our memory.
I
I don't think we can compare the two.
Masjid is there.
But let's not end on
No,
acrimony.
no, no,
Let's not end. Okay, I'm going to ask a
Let's end on a
question.
positive note.
Let's end on a
Let's talk
positive
about-
note.
Yeah.
If you know, what is the one thing about India that you like the most? And you can ask me about Pakistan later. What is the one thing you like about India the most?
Culture, the food, you know, the people. I was very frequently, you know, visiting India till 2013. After, you know, that, I couldn't get the chance.
So
I couldn't
culture,
get the-
food.
Yes, culture,
Where's the food
people,
better? Where's the
people.
food better, Delhi or Lahore?
Lahore.
Okay, what is it about India that you like most, sir? Waleed sir?
The friendliness at the people-to-people level.
Munib, what's it that you like most?
I mean, as a student of law, I believe that the supremacy of the constitution and the functioning democracy, that's what.
Have you been to India?
I've not been to India so far.
But are
I've
you,
read-
but are you
as much
very
as I-
keen to go or not?
Yeah, sure. I've got a lot of friends there.
Okay, good. Mehmal, what's it? You go more often. What have you liked the most about India?
Madhuri Dixit.
Okay, that reminds me. I actually came to Lahore 1996 World Cup and I saw a poster at the final. Madhuri de do, Kashmir le lo. What is it that you like most about Pakistan?
I love their Sufi singing. I think the Sufi singers, Fateh Ali Khan Sahab, I can listen at any time. And I think if you look at what we're doing tomorrow in Kartarpur, it is a fact that Guru Nanak Ji also talked of Ek Omkar.
Yes.
I think that in some senses gets us all together. You know, when you think of a supreme divine and the way we conduct ourselves in contrast to that, I think it's a lesson for all of us.
All I can say is that there is no other country which perhaps obsesses about India as much as Pakistan does. And that is why it's the best country for an Indian journalist to visit.
does India.
That's right. And much less maybe, but either way.
We were going
But
to ask you about Pakistan.
Okay, I love the Jyoti's friends. I've had friends from my university days who were my roommates, who I meet with such warmth. I asked my friend to get me 2 pairs of Jyoti, he brought 6. This can only happen in Pakistan. I said, why 6? He said, and you never know when you'll next get a visa. So I said, okay, on that note, wonderful to have you. And as you said, hopefully tomorrow will mark a new beginning. We don't need an event as much as a process. And that's important. Keep the dialogue, find ways to keep the dialogue going so that the trust deficit
Start the
is built.
dialogue for that matter.
That's right, and which is why we're very grateful to Geo News for giving us this platform to share our views with each other in an open, transparent manner. That's it on this special from Lahore. Thanks very much, Munib, and the entire panel
Pleasure.
for joining us. Bye for now.
Thanks for watching the video. For more such news and updates, please like, share and subscribe to India Today. Also check out our other great videos from our channel. We know you would love to.